Okay, I'm finished with Dead by Daylight, and there's just too much to cover in one video. So I'm gonna break this into a series of videos and explain why I'm finished with Dead by Daylight. I absolutely hate this game now because I hate behaviour, okay? And I resent large sections of the player base. This is like one of the worst gaming communities I've ever been in. Like, there's some really nice elements to the community that I really like. Some really nice people, but it's just makes me miserable playing this game. Makes me miserable interacting with this game. Makes me miserable to see behaviour slowly ruin the game, mess up the game balance. It makes me miserable seeing their incompetence at play. It makes me miserable seeing the double standards. There's people who are favoured and there's people who are not. And men who are seen as autistic or nerdy or as loners or got low sub counts, right, who don't have any voice in the community, they're the punching bags for other people, right? So there's favoured people who get to act up, and then there's people who are hyper scrutinised who are banned for no good reason. But I'll be covering that in other videos. So I'm going to be talking about game balance, Dead by Daylight and game balance. And I'm going to use Scott Jund as a sounding board.
Hey guys, Scott here, as always, going over the patch notes for
This was like a week or two ago, this patch, and it's absolute garbage. So let me display some context first before we go into this patch. They've been slowly nerfing Killer on a global scale, right? So they have all these weird artificial ways that they force Killer to play, right? You can't camp hooks, artificial. You've got gen kick limits, artificial. It hasn't really affected many games, but it's affected some. And it's affected games on low tier killers, and I've lost a few games that I brought back. I was bringing pressure back, then I've run out of gen kicks. It's really frustrating, artificial. And the gen kick limit actually doesn't really fix the gen problem because it stems from three gens spawning near each other on bad maps, right? So yeah, so no hook grabs. That was another nerf, global nerf to Killer. Okay, so that means they could just unhook a survivor in your face next to the gate and get out if it's a coordinated team. So that shits on low tier killers even more, right? There's killers with insta downs. It doesn't really affect them, right? Once you've got someone to hook that killer, boom, you've got the kill secured. Not if you're a Myers, right? Or a pig. They just act cocky and get your face and unhook. Yeah? So that's the context. There's slowly been nerfing Killer on a global scale and ruining it in Killer.
the next PTB. This is going to be the one for the whole Castlevania update, but these changes are also going to hit at the same time. This is sort of a tomfoolery update because a lot of the changes they made are to perks that are used to deceive people. So I just thought that was funny. That was sort of the theme that they picked here. But first, let's start.
So that they're gaslighting killers and making it more annoying and confusing them even more. All right, cool, 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 cool. So they've done something with the sound, right? Right. They've done something with the sound the past couple of months, made it less accurate. Okay, they've added perks that mess around with sound and noises and scratch marks as well, or buffed them or whatever. Because I noticed I took a break for like 6 months, and when I came back, I was losing survivors I never used to lose. So when you injure someone, you earn the ability to track someone. As far as I'm concerned, I've earned that. I've earned that, and there's perks to screw around with that. Okay.
Off with the dredge. The dredge, I have been saying, has been in need of a buff for a very long time. I think the dredge is a really underwhelming killer, legitimately like pretty weak.
Yeah, most of the killers are underwhelming and shit. Yeah. So you either got very lethal killers who could be a nightmare to play against and feel very oppressive, right? And then you got the other killers who are just crap, really. Like even the B tier killers are crap. The C tier killers are really like F tier killers, and like I don't know what D tier killers are like Z tier. That's how bad they are. There's just a massive difference between the S tiers and everyone else. Like A tier killers are even disadvantaged in this game. Okay.
Other than on a couple of maps, every time you see like a dredge showcase, look how good dredge is. It's like always on Midwich. It's always on like one of the 4 maps where he's actually pretty good. But for the most part, I think dredge is pretty weak and needed a couple of changes. The main change I wanted was ignoring locks in Nightfall. That was always the worst feeling playing dredge. You finally get Nightfall. You have a perfect locker. They're running in front of it. you go to get out of it, and then you're just scraping at it, and then they turn around and go somewhere else. It's just so sad. In your giant, primeval, powerful, darkened form, a little teeny lock is just stopping you. I just wanted you to ignore locks. It seems like they didn't do that, unfortunately, but they did do a couple of other quality of life things to make that feel a lot better.
So quality of life change.
So the first one.
So quality of life changes are not going to fix this because the game is fundamentally broken. There's the power scaling between the lowest and highest tier killers is too large, and there's too much map variation, right? So those two factors alone, you can't balance the game. Okay, quality of life is not going to fix the fundamental problem. Like tinkering with like the odd killer here and there is not going to fix the problem, and the problem is behavior makes a lot of killers worse with their tinkering as well, unfortunately.
One, when you're charging, remnant or teleport, whatever you want to do, you are moving a lot faster now. See, in my opinion, this is the thing I wanted to buff the least, because the 50-50 gameplay of leaving a remnant and whether they teleport back to it or not is probably the least interesting thing about Dredge. So that's not really the thing I wanted to be made stronger, because I find that to be the least interactive. It literally boils down to just a 50-50. Trust me, it's a lot better than the guaranteed free hits some killers have, but it's still not very interesting. So I'm sure this will feel nice playing as Dredge. It'll feel bad playing against Dredge. What are you going to do? Teleport speed outside of Nightfall has been made a lot faster. This is great because the teleporting outside of Nightfall was very, very slow. So that is just a blanket great change for Dredge. The teleport cooldown is now 10 seconds instead of 12 seconds outside of Nightfall. Again, great quality of life there. Time to break out of a locker is now 2.25 seconds instead of 3 seconds. Again, great quality of life there. I'm willing to bet some add-ons are going to be changed there, like, the ones that actually make your breakout timer faster. So, like how they usually do this, if you use the add-ons that were changed in addition to the changes, it'll actually likely be a bit stronger than it currently is right now. But they're basically buffing the base kit and nerfing the add-on, but you'll still come out a bit more on top there. They increased the charge rate of Nightfall to 1 charge per second instead of 0.75 per injured survivor. This will just make you get Nightfall faster. It's not something you're going to viscerally notice like as you hit somebody, but over time you'll notice, hey, I've been getting more Nightfalls per game, things like that, so that's great. This is probably the biggest one here. Reduced the volume of the Dredge's sound effects to make it harder to detect. This was by far one of the weakest points about Dredge.
No stealth at all, basically. All right. Shows the incompetence of behavior, right?
Nightfall, he was still really easy to locate, and in fact you could track him through walls because there's a Hoover vacuum cleaner just going outside of this TL wall, and you can tell exactly when he doubles back. He's the loudest killer in the entire game. So that was one of the worst parts about Dredge, and strangely enough, simply adjusting sounds might be the most impactful change he has out of this entire list. So that is huge. Hopefully it's enough to where he's actually kind of hard to tell where he's coming from now. I don't care that, he should make some sound, obviously, but it should not be just like, so that is a great change. Adjusted several add-ons is probably just nerfing the ones that have been implemented base kit. They do this quite frequently. Next, the Doctor. Static.
Okay, I'm not really interested in the Doctor. Ooh.
A large buff to his information. His lethality is still kind of okay. He's pretty consistent at getting hit at pallets, but it just takes him a decent amount of time. Shock, move closer, shock, move closer, shock, move closer, hit. So he's very consistent, but he's quicker now. These numbers. So basically, you get to your second stage quicker now. These numbers don't really mean anything. Just know that if you chase the first survivor, you can get tier 2 off of them by just themselves. Normally...
Okay, so this is sort of semi-fixing Nemesis's biggest problem, was that his start-up is too slow. It took too long to get to tier 2 whips, right, to make him a decent killer. Okay.
You need another survivor to get to tier 2 there.
Again, this is just tinkering at the sidelines. It's not fixing the base problem of the game. Okay, so let's look at... yeah, I'm not really... Because I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm not too interested in the minutiae of killer changes, to be honest.
The method of getting him to be a bit stronger in the early game, which I think is a good change. Blastmine. Just a simple buff to the requirement to get it. Requires 40% of a gen instead of 50% now. This is where the tomfoolery begins, and all this stuff is related to perks like that. Wiretap also only requires 40 instead of 50. By the way, this means you only have to do 40% of the generator to activate the perk now.
So, that blast mine that fucks low tier killers over really hard because they're really struggling with lily fatality and time efficiency. So it's just going to be more annoying for low tier killers. This is like just trolling, annoying the killer, griefing the killer stuff. Okay, and it wouldn't be a problem in of itself. If the game was balanced. It'll just be a minor little thing. It'll be a bit of fun for the survivor, right? But I've had games where when I've played as Myers and it's gone really badly, and I've kicked the gen, and it's gone in my face. Okay, it feels like the final straw. Okay, so yeah.
A lot of these perks have the same type of requirement. Chemical Trap only requires 20% now instead of 50. However, the duration of the trap is now half of what it used to be. I think that's a good way to do it. Having to repair basically, you know, an entire generator just to get one trap that the killer might just walk away from.
This is going to be annoying, but I think this change is going to be annoying. I'd rather have one chemical trap every now and again that slow me down a lot than having chemical traps all the bloody time. This is going to shit on low tier killers. I promise you. This is going to cause frustration.
Now you can get a lot more of them, but they don't last as long, so the killer can actually not be put in that scenario where they're like, I have to kick this, or I can't keep chasing, or I can just sort of like leave it. It'll go away in a minute now. I think being able, making it a bit weaker, but making it usable more frequently is the correct call, sir. That's cool. Mirrored Illusion. Man, I feel like nobody uses this perk. Again, huge buff. Only requires 20% instead of 50%. And they also reduced the duration, which I feel like wasn't necessary. They could have just changed it to 20% in general. Mirrored Illusion is really actually surprisingly useful on big outdoor maps. That's about it, though. Like on an indoor map, obviously doesn't do anything. But it definitely had its uses. It just took way too long to activate. So this is a good change. Will we see more of it? I don't know. I like the perk. It's amazing for like exit gates and stuff, but Dance With Me. Reduce the cooldown to 20 seconds instead of 40 seconds. So have the cooldown of that too. Basically, you'll be able to use Dance With Me more than once in a chase, I guess, is the idea, which I think is awesome. So that is a overall really good change. Dance With Me is a really good perk when combined with things like Life and stuff like that. So,
so they're just letting survivors spam shit out more, basically, in this update. Okay, cool.
Solid there. Deception also now.
I'm being sarcastic, by the way.
Only has a 20-second cooldown, so that's what I'm saying. This is literally the tomfoolery update. Almost every perk is related to just messing with the killer. So
so that they can spam out more abilities and fuck with the killer, right? So the game's already survivor-sided, okay? They can rush gens faster than ever, okay? Okay.
Have cooldown there. That's great. Diversion, half cooldown there, or I guess 10 seconds off here. So more pebbles being thrown, more deceiving, all that good stuff. Flashbang only requires 40% of a gen instead of 50% now. Again, usually used for bamboozling and flashbanging. So all these changes are pretty minor, but they'll feel nice if you enjoy that subset of perks. I am a huge fan of them. I love, the tomfoolery shit. I think that's some of the most fun perks in the entire game. So
survivors get to have fun, but killers don't. Killers just got to put up with this shit, right? There's no comeback mechanics for killers if they're low tier. Like, the high tier killers are so lethal, we can come back from a lot more. But low tier killers have just got to suck this up, yeah? Because the male player fan base who play killers are the whipping boys of the Dead by Daylight community. They just got to suck it up and get good, yeah? The survivors get to have fun, okay? Killers have their fun by having, from my point of view, high skill ceiling mechanics is the fun that killers have. But they ruin that with the changes. They've nerfed like Trickster. They've reworked Trickster and got rid of the skill from Trickster. They've ruined Sadiko and got rid of the skill from that. They nearly ruined the Huntress completely, right? But they didn't go through with all the changes, so she's still a high skill skilling killer, okay? And they ruined Billy and made him a mindless killer as well instead of giving him quality of life changes. They removed the skill ceiling from the game for a lot of killers. They either nerfed them or keep them OP, but remove the skill ceiling and remove all the techs. Okay.
That is overall good stuff. Finally, prestige levels are no longer shown in the pre-game lobby. That is, I don't care. Like, I've never really looked at prestige levels. I don't think it means anything anymore. I would say, like a couple of weeks after the prestige system came out, yeah, if you saw a prestige 100, that guy's probably no life in the game. It's probably pretty decent because they just simply play that much. There's a very low chance that they're that bad. Nowadays, though, there's Prestige 100s that are terrible. Like, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means you really like that character. So I don't really think this is necessary. But I guess people were dodging lobbies if there were too many high prestige people. So whatever. This is a pretty.
I've never dodged lobbies in my life. by the way, right? I've never dodged lobbies in my life, ever, not once, never. I see Prestige 100s, I was like, bring it on, yeah? Like, look, if there's a problem with the game balance that you're scared of Prestige 100s, you don't play the fucking game. There's a problem with the game fundamentally then. Like, like dodging lobbies is just a band-aid fix. I'm not dodging lobbies, I'm leaving the fucking game. It's done, I'm finished. Right? It's more than just... It's community management and game balance. Like, behaviour's got really toxic community management. I'm going to cover this in videos. Right?
Thing changed for me, but probably good for the game overall. Less lobby dodging. Hook stages. This is a pretty big change. Hook stages now have 70 seconds instead of 60 seconds. So now we have a minute and 20, no, a minute and 10, and then a minute and 10. So
you can't hook camp. Yeah, they can unhook themselves. You can't grab someone trying to unhook, and they're still doing more buffs to Survivor, yeah, giving them 10 extra seconds, which is going to make a lot of difference. 10 seconds is a long time in Dead by Daylight. This is in of itself isolated. This is not really a big change. It's in conjunction with all the other Survivor buffs that Survivors have gotten. They're gen rushing, yeah. All the little shadow nerfs, global nerfs that killers have gotten. Okay, all the global nerfs that killers have gotten, and Survivors are still getting global buffs, along with all those perks that are getting buffed.
2 minutes and 20 seconds, and that is, noticeable. This is a noticeable killer nerf. Is it really going to be that impactful most of the time? No. There's not that many opportunities where you get the kill because the timer goes out and it was the last.
Scotchun does this a lot. When there's balance changes against the killers, he rationalises and defends it, right? Oh, it's not going to make much difference. It's only 10 seconds, blah, 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 blah. No, it's going to have a cumulative effect along with all the other changes. You've got to think holistically, Scott, right? Like, you do this a lot. But then again, you think you don't need to turn on camp, right? Okay.
Last couple of seconds there before they got to the save. It does happen, though, so I'm not going to pretend this isn't a killer nerf. But this is mostly to combat killers that are camping and to give the survivors that...
If they're camping, they already can unhook. Camping is a fucking valid strategy. They're trying to fix a problem they should be trying to fucking fix anyway. Right? Like, camping was a comeback mechanic that killers needed to use sometimes, or otherwise they might as well just quit the game. So you got this fucking game as killer, you're not allowed to resign, right? You got to play the fucking game out, you got to be trapped with these scumbag survivors, okay? Who are just going to be like teabagging you and getting in your fucking face, like, in a really horrendous manner, okay? Right? You're not allowed to resign, okay? But they can come back, they've got comeback mechanics, but you're not allowed your comeback mechanic, camping the hook, okay? Okay, but let's hold the survivor hands even more and give them 10 extra seconds. Like, this is a straw that's going to break the camel's back if it already hasn't been broken metaphorically a million times over.
Are on gens a bit more time, because 10 more seconds with 3 survivors on gens while one guy's getting camped is detrimental to the killer. So I get why they did this.
Camping's not a problem though, and I don't get why they did it. Camping's not a fucking problem. It's never been a problem. I'm sorry. It's only been a problem in a few niche scenarios. Okay, camping's always been counterable. The only anti-camping mechanic I agreed with was base kick borrowed time. Right? That's only shadow nerf the killer I agreed with. Okay? Apart from that, yeah, no.
There will be a couple of times where you'll notice a guy would have died, but now they don't. So, yeah, definitely a noticeable killer nerf. Not really big enough to riot over or anything like that, but it is.
So he's downplaying it and minimizing it after all the other killer nerfs because he doesn't care. He's a shill.
Something you will notice every once in a while. A kill you would have gotten, you're not going to get anymore. I do like that this de-incentivizes.
He's a politician. He said stuff about game balance that I can't believe a player of his skill level would actually say. Okay, so I think he's trying to appease a certain fan base, right? The anti-true talent survivor main types.
Camping a bit more, but it's kind of hard to fix that problem because
basically it's content creators like this is one of the reasons why I've left as well, because these disingenuous politicians, they misinform, they gaslight, right? They confuse. They have this narrative, and people have got a false understanding of the game balance. And because people have got a false understanding of the game balance, they don't pressure behaviour correctly. They pressure behaviour to make the fucking game worse, to make things even more favourable for Survivor.
Face camping bar is great for face camping, but it doesn't help proxy camping, which is what most smart killers do. So,
well, proxy fucking camping's fucking valid. They should be fucking doing anything against it. For fuck's sake, Jesus fucking Christ. Game's already hard. The thing again, this is just gonna hit the low tier killers even harder. So it means low tier killers are just bloke content. This game is Dead by Daylight is full of bloke content. It's just bloke content central. That's all it is. Just bloke content central. Game's a complete fucking state. Complete fucking state. And you enabled it, Scott.
Mixed bag with this one. I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Scratch
So it means he's not happy with it, right? Mixed bag basically means it's awful.
marks just more visible. This is both good and bad. Good because sometimes you just simply can't see them. Bad because Jesus, that's bright. it's gonna be like flashbang. So I mean that's fine. Midwich, they removed the breakable walls in the bathrooms. These are the killer-only openable areas that have another staircase, essentially, to get you to the second floor, which good. Honestly, the more breakable walls that they remove, the better, in my opinion.
So the breakable wall... No.
I hate breakable walls. Every time they remove a breakable wall, an angel gets its wings, so that is really good. I am all for that. So now...
Okay, that's good. That's actually a good change. So they didn't get rid of the breakable wall and replace it with a wall. They just got rid of the okay, that's a good time sink.
Basically, survivors will be able to use the same verticality as the killer, but the killer won't have to waste time kicking that every fucking match. So that's great, in my opinion. Next, they altered the layouts of hallways to reduce long-range visibility and added objects near gates to reduce visibility. These are actually two very good changes. One of the worst parts about Midwich is the long hallways. So you could have a killer, you know, right here on one side of the hallway, survivors right here, and the survivor would run up, and then the killer just has to go this way, and then the survivor goes this way, and then the killer's got to go. It would just be a giant, 40-second hold W spree, and it sucked. So now it seems like they're going to put some like boxes or lockers or shit in the way, so you don't actually have direct line of sight of the other side of the hallway.
Oh, so they're making it harder for killer. It's a killer nerf. Okay, cool.
Which is a great change. That is going to help a lot of M1 killers that just have to simply walk there. Now the survivor is not necessarily going to know if they're above or below. They might waste time doing nothing because they're not sure now. So that's overall great. Additionally, the gates on Midwich were basically impossible.
No, it's a nerf. It's a nerf because it's going to confuse a killer as well. It's not a buff for killers, right?
For a survivor to open if they were the only one left and like the hatch was closed. So adding some objects there while still heavily.
I was thinking about it. So, alright, so if you know the layout of the level and you're running away from the killer and there's objects, right, you're still going to keep on running anyway, right? You're not going to hide unless you're a very poor survivor. You're just going to keep on running. Like, what? You don't need to see, like, you can infer with it, like, even if the killer goes back, right, therefore you've lost him or he's going to keep on following you anyway. So you've got to keep on holding W anyway as a survivor. You're not making sense.
Killer sided will make it maybe possible for a survivor to actually escape in that scenario now. So that's really good. And that is apparently it. That is all we got. So overall, pretty safe update. Nothing too crazy, but overall, mostly good stuff.
Yeah. So it's mostly good stuff is buffing survivor perks to fuck with the killer, make their life miserable, and nerfing the hook timer for the killer as well. Cool. I can see why you like that, actually, knowing who you are. Bloody hell. I'm glad I've left this game. This game's a piece of shit. It's a piece of shit. This game is garbage. Garbo. I really regret wasting 40 years of my life in this piece of shit. I should have been fucking playing Tekken or something. Or fucking playing chess online or whatever. Investing in something else. Fucking waste of 3,500 hours wasted on this shit. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna do more videos, right? I think this covers the game balance problem. Okay, so over and out. More to come.